So this is my Zerg build. I think it's really good for a few reasons, but it's a mix of. I'll start with Thief for the relic, but for the traits, we'll just go over the traits first. So classic power traits or Conduit traits, you would go, if you're going to go Conduit, you just go, you know, the classic stuff. This really doesn't change depending on what Rev Legend or what Rev Builder you're playing. So for Conduit, I think this is probably the de facto best build. I can't figure out any other reason to play any other traits really, other than maybe when you're roaming, you can go like this when you're roaming if you want to, but it really doesn't matter. I think the extra energy and the lower legend swap cooldown reduction is important. It's really makes the spec flow well in all scenarios, in healing, Conduit, power, whatever. So because we're using Dwarf Stance, I recommend Spirit Boon, because that means that each time we legend swap, which will be more often, we'll be splashing out a bit of stability. And generally speaking, when we're legend swapping, we're bursting. So throwing out stability on you and your friends while you're trying to crank out the dam is pretty good. If you're not going Dwarf Stance and you're going to go the blast cannon build, you can just go Incense Response for better might uptime. But it doesn't really matter. This trait line is very minimal. For my build, I tend to go Dwarf Stance a lot. People ask me about this build, so I figured I'd give it a review. So Enhanced Embodiment, like I said, reduced recharge on legend swapping, Expanded Consciousness, 15 extra energy when you cap your affinity, and Conductive Armaments lets you cap your affinity fast as hell. Really simple. For the gear, you can just go straight up all Berserker and not really worry about it, because you get a lot of tankiness from having Dwarf Stance as a legend swapped in. So Cosmic Wisdom, you get a boost to your stats. So as you can see, you're nearly crit capped and you have 22k health and almost 2900 armor. So you're really innately tanky as a Conduit with this particular build. So no worrying about your gear, just go straight up blast cannon damage. So all Zerker, classically, you go Might Infusions for power, and then you go Dragon Hunter runes, because if you're new to Revenant, Notoriety gives you 250 extra power at maximum, 25 stacks of might. So Revenant is a class for power where you generally need more ferocity, so the Dragon Hunter rune is almost always better. There are some scenarios where if you're using some roaming setups, you can probably go Scholar, but it's really minimal in the end anyway. So that goes over the gear. The relic, so you can go Thief, you can go, so if you're gonna go Dwarf Stance, I recommend Thief, because it's just 5% extra damage all the time, very consistent. Or you can go Eagle, because Eagle stacks up with your already 20% execute damage modifier, which gives you a lot of kill power, or basically downs contribution damage. So if you go Eagle Relic, you kind of want to play a more bursty playstyle and grind down downs you generate. But it is pretty minimal. This is just things I think about because I've been playing the build for a little bit, so I'm just trying to get the most out of each type of relic and see if I notice any differences. If you go the Assassin build, where you go to less utility, you can go Claw. Claw is 7% strike damage, and you pretty much keep it up 100% uptime with Jade Winds and Spear 4. So once you are kind of in the rotation, you pretty much have Claw up all the time. So as you can see here, even by just spamming just Jade Winds, it's up. So for the weapons, just to make sure the situations, you can go Force and Fire for maximum damage. And you can go Cruelty Hydro, which is pretty classic for the Greatsword. You can go Energy on the Greatsword and throw Cruelty on the Spear if you want, instead, if you really like having the extra energy for the Endurance, but I personally don't find it super useful. I feel like I overcap the energy a lot. Alright, so that really covers the setup of the character, so let's just talk about some concepts here. So there are a couple openers. I think openers are probably the most important thing for people, especially since it's an energy-based an energy-based spec, timing is important. So when you first get into combat, you really want to throw down roads wherever your tag is running. Maybe create a tag and make it private, and then that way we'll use the markers to simulate a tag moving around. So if my tag is moving around like this, you kind of want to make sure you stay in this position, generally speaking, almost all the time. When your tag starts to move forward towards the enemies, depending on which way they want to go, you don't want to really be at the front, especially at the beginning of any Zerg engagement. You want to really be more like, if your tag is running in, you want to roads and then leap on top of where your tag is and join them. And that way you provide stability on the way to all your friends, and now you're already and in position with your tag to start going ham in the paint, right? So super important. People do not use inspiring reinforcements very well. It's important that your teammates are on it. And the only way you can control if your teammates are going to be on it is if you make sure that you are paying really close attention to where your tag is moving and then joining them. So I generally lag behind my tag a little touch, like maybe around like this distance or so while they're walking forward, and then I will send the roads in, and then that'll be the start of the engagement. And it is more important than it seems, or than it looks. So once you got the opener, you'll be pretty low on energy, but you're going to get a boost of energy because of expanded consciousness. So let's assume that you're entering combat for the first time. Like, let's say it's like a veil encounter, so that way you can consider the worst case scenario for your energy, because there will be some cases where you'll be in combat and pulling your energy so you can use your utilities and weapon skills without having to legend swap or anything. But for this case, we'll just assume that you're coming out of a stealth bomb or something like that. So assuming your tag is again moving in, let's just say we're invisible in this case, and you're gonna stop right there, and we want to do a bomb right here. So first I would roads and then leap, and then you activate Cosmic Wisdom at this point, and then activate Vengeful Hammers. What this does is it's gonna cap up your affinity very quickly. This is already 3 affinity before you've used any weapon skills. So now after 2 weapon skills, you're gonna get 15 energy. So that was a lot of information that I just dumped right there. So I'm gonna go over that again really quick, because we're in combat, my energy is sticking up. All right, so your opener can be using roads, leaping in, and then using Vengeful Hammers, 1 skill. Using a second spear skill will cap you, and then you're able to use your weapon skill burst. So you Cosmic Wisdom, you do 5, 4, and you can do 2, 5, and you can basically go through the priority system through the spear and use the rest of your energy. You can stay with Vengeful Hammers to get rid of all your energy, and then once you're ready, you probably won't have Release Potential Warrior because you just opened, but you can just legend swap and go right for the elite. That's usually what I do. So legend swap elite is the opener or the combo, and then after that I'll do my Release Potential Dervish. So just to break that up into chunks here. All right, so roads, hammer, wisdom, 1 spear skill, caps up. Then you can use Release Potential whenever you want. You can use any of your weapon skills in whatever priority you want, really, depending on position, etc. And then you want to wait until your second Twin Moon sweep before you do your Dwarf. Then, of course, use your roads as soon as you get in. You say, yeah, it's just basically focusing on making sure you use your Release Potential at 5. Because if you focus on that, everything else kind of falls into place a bit. Here you get a couple of auto attacks, so you have a bit of a lull there. But yeah, so you have a bit of utility in this variant of the build. You're a bit more of a frontliner, bulky, while still being like full glass cannon, good damage, good spike damage, 3k power, a good deal of ferocity. All right,